Welcome back to the Now Morning Show, where we are having a conversation. TTPS on Now. As always, thank you very much for your consistency, Inspector Michelle Lewis. Now, it is one thing to say, okay, well, yes, the carnival is finished, or according to this song, the carnival is over. But in terms of learning from the lessons, looking and seeing where we are at, what it is we need to work on, how we can move forward. Thank you so much. Good morning. How was your carnival?
Good morning to both of you. Good morning, DK. Good morning, Anka. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago and the entire world. The carnival was a good one for me. It was generally the same thing that I will do every year, be out on the road with my colleagues, my officers of the various ranks. Generally speaking, for carnival, we have a higher percentage of officers on the road. So what will happen is that officers who work in specialist sections as well, they would come out to augment the strength, particularly in Port-of-Spain, since Port-of-Spain, Carnival, and the mecca of Carnival being Port-of-Spain, the city, we have to have that increased strength or that increased number of police officers on the road. So this year was no different. What happened is that we take into account the SOE, the state of emergency, and through, of course, the commissioner, the GO commander, and all the strategies that have been put in place, the emphasis was to ensure that even in the midst of the SOE, that persons can be assured of a safe carnival. And so the TTPS, we ran a campaign or a strategy to do that, to show persons that the police were out on the road, to ensure that safety tips were given to members of the public, to ensure that it was reachable through our WhatsApp channel, to ensure that persons could connect to police at any point, not just in Port-of-Spain in the city, but anywhere in Trinidad and Tobago, because Tobago had more mud mass than color mass, to put simple. So we would have looked at all the strategies prior and all the operational plan we would have had previously for Carnival and see how we could have tweaked for this year, particularly with SOE. And I think we did well. So we must say thanks to all the stakeholders who assisted us in having a relatively good carnival season. The reviews have been indicating that despite the one or two little hiccups that we had, it was well managed. And the officers, and when I say officers, not just police officers, but municipal police, parliament police, traffic wardens, transit officers, private security companies, licensing officers, WASA, T&Tech, Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, NCC, and all the agency that falls under there. Everyone really came together, considering that it's not just Carnival, which is for Trinidad a big deal. It's a big ticket item, not just for locals, but also for tourists. But it is also in the midst of a SOE. So we really had that to manage. And I think relatively, well, the commissioner, the executive have done a good job.
Now, in terms of those measurements, how do you actually measure the success of a carnival? You mentioned comparing strategies of previous years. I imagine statistics of previous years would count as well. What are some of the numbers or data that you'd look at?
So what we look at, so the meetings that we normally have for carnival is a multi-pronged approach. It involves all the stakeholders, including NCC and all the agencies that would make Carnival a success or not. And just as we would have had meeting prior, we also do what you consider, what you know as a post-mortem. And during that post-mortem, it will indicate to us what were our strengths or weaknesses, where we can fix. So like, for example, last year for Carnival, we recognize that one of the safety issues in terms of the stability of the stand and safety in particular were persons coming in with heavy coolers, which also has bottles which can be used as weapons. And so one of the things that NCC did in collaboration with all the stakeholders is ensure that those coolers were not coming in as it used to. So that is something that they looked at last year for this year to ensure that that was not there. We promoted a lot of safety in terms of your firearm and ensuring that that is in a safe space to prevent persons who are FUL holders being under the influence and drawing your firearm and being charged yourself, apart from other things that could happen. So we try to put some more measures in place based on what would have come out of last year's post-mortem. This year's post-mortem, I'm not too sure if it has happened as yet, but certainly we look at what has transpired and what are the takeaways that we can keep for next year and what we definitely need to fix.
And what is that timeline like? Because you speak of having different stakeholders being engaged. So how long before do you need to start having conversations with NCC? You raise the example of NCC to say, okay, well, in addition to the amount of people who may be in the stand, and I'm thinking specifically in the North Stand, we want to make sure that people, one, don't have bottles coming in their coolers, two, don't have oversized coolers, because apart from just the weight for the physical structure, you also have the fact that you don't want items that people can use to tweak to start to say, okay, well, I think I can weaponize this.
Yeah, so the discussion with NCC and the various stakeholders usually start like October, November, December, and then it builds. So it would start maybe once a month, and then it gets more regular, once a week or on a more regular basis as Carnival gets closer. This year we had a very long Carnival season because it was in March, but sometimes it's in February, early February, the 10th of February. So depending on when Carnival is, but it generally starts the year before. It doesn't start like January of the year of Carnival.
That I'm not surprised by.
Yeah.
But one of the things that did happen this Carnival that impacted masqueraders, patrons, and everybody would have been the actual shootings in the public spaces, particularly the one in St. James.
St. James, yes.
Now, I know that for the masqueraders, it immediately changed the route of the actual parade.
Yes.
It would have made the experience different as well. But then the TTPS being able to handle that situation on the ground, in a crowd, in a space that is very difficult to, I imagine, control.
Yes.
What was that learning like, or that experience like for the TTPS?
Yes, so, well, the incident is public, very public, where 5 persons were shot by someone who had a firearm, to put simple.
Right.
1 person died, 4 persons injured, but good in terms of stable and well, right? So we regret that someone had died in the carnival itself, because St. James, you know, has its own culture for the masqueraders and for revelers and persons who passing through. So it would have given a different feeling, because masqueraders are now hearing that the route has been diverted. But it was done with the safety and the security of the persons in mind, as well as to manage the crowd that was already in St. James and being able to preserve the crime scene to be able to have a successful prosecution of a matter. So in that particular incident, the police were on the ground, so we're able to apprehend the suspect right away. And so someone is in custody assisting the police with that. But we also want to make sure that when we do that, the evidence has not been tampered with or in such a way that we don't have a proper prosecution in court.
This was my concern, to be honest, because this is a very public space. It is a very real-time happening.
Yes, it is. And so it was well managed by the senior superintendent for Western Division, Mr. Sylvester Williams and his teams here, and outside of that incident, Western Division was crime-free. The masqueraders were not impacted at all. There was no incident with any masquerader in terms of from a band or anything.
Right.
And the persons, that incident involved persons who came out, you know, Trinidadians. Apart from the masqueraders, you also have persons who come out to Lime to enjoy the carnival and that kind of thing. So that's the situation. But we regret that someone died, and so our condolence goes out to that person. But certainly, it was an incident that we're not proud of, but definitely was well managed by the TTPS.
In terms of that level of management, and well, I guess we are harboring on it or staying on it, but is this something that you're prepared for? Is this something that you run simulations? What's going through your mind at this point in time in terms of cordoning the area off, making sure that people are diverted? What are the incremental actions that you take?
Yeah, so the police is well poised and well knowledgeable in terms of treating with incident that happen in a crowd or a live incident, and that is from training that officers would have received. And so for Carnival, we have officers from the different sections, branches, units who are on the ground. So you would have officers from homicide, from CID, from traffic, from the various units on the ground. And when anything happened, they just, like second nature, come together. So it's something that comes with the territory. So I
must say it is reassuring, and it was actually very pleasing to me as a masquerader, as a citizen, as a person in Port of Spain generally, to hear that as much as things had happened and changed, that there was action being taken immediately, that somebody was in custody relatively quickly. So it was very reassuring, and I would agree that in that case, Carnival was relatively a successful one.
And even the public there at the point in time were very cooperative with the police, allowing the police to come in and do our thing that we had to do, and assisting us and giving us information as well, because we would have had some eyewitnesses to the incident, and they have been assisting the police. So we continue to thank the members of the public for that collective support and collaboration and partnership, because really we cannot do it without you. We do have CCTV cameras, but nothing more than an eyewitness and that account that helps, because sometimes they don't see every and anything.
Right.
So the Carnival generally, the TTPS, we really want to say thanks to everyone for making it possible. I know that as one of the persons for the TTPS, I must say thanks to TTT for always showcasing our public service announcements, not just with me being here, but everything that we have to share for the public. TTT has really been really much out there and ensuring that persons get it in their homes as well as on their social media pages. So we really have to say thank you very much for that.
One hand can clap. We have to do it together, as you rightfully say. My only other question, as we get ready to wrap things up, is that as we head into the Lenten season, we are cooling down, we are heading to the beaches more, we're probably doing more family activities. Any sorts of change in the police presence that we can expect as well?
So even though Carnival has ended, security hasn't ended. So we want person to continue to make safety their priority. That is to say that if you're at home, you still want you to be very much vigilant and alert. And because we have seen an uptick in homicide right after Carnival, and we don't want you to, release or become an easy target for any type of offense. So yes, the Carnival was good, generally speaking, but please, members of the public, we want you to be vigilant still. We want you to pay attention to the children. You're going to the beaches, you have your personal items, secure them. Pay attention to where you leave it. Pay attention to coming out of your vehicle, leaving the vehicle and securing the vehicle. The items that you leave on the seat of your vehicle, ensuring that your doors are properly secured in the night. Your vehicle is properly secured in the night so that you do not become an easy target. So yes, the persons go on the beach and they're enjoying the Lenten season, and it's a sacred time in terms of purification and getting, because after that, Carnival is really about the flesh and Lenten is really about the spirit. That's how the season goes, right? So we want you all to really get in touch with your spirit in terms of that development and that greater connection with your spirit or with the Lord, but also to ensure that your safety and security is important.
I like that fact. We have about 2 minutes more, but I like the point you make in terms of, yes, moving from the flesh, focusing a little more on the spirit, and people do without things, but don't do without things because you made yourself an easy target. For people to say, thank you, let me help you with your spirituality. Because sometimes people find the Lord in some of these instances, but in terms of finding, please remind us of contact information, because we were talking about WhatsApp contacts as well. So how do we reach out and all hands on deck approach?
So we continue, so our Facebook page, but not just our Facebook page, our TTPS, so ttps.gov.tt. On that website, it has all our contact number for all our stations. As I mentioned before, we do have a WhatsApp channel that is there for information. But in terms of connecting or contacting a station directly, all those numbers are on our website. But additionally, for emergency, you have 999-555-800 and 736 TTPS, which is a number directly to the commissioner and the deputy commissioner. I'm sure you have, sometimes you have some key information that you just want to get directly to those officers, and in relation to crime, and those numbers are there. We continue to ask the public to continue to partner with us. If you see something, say something. And the TTPS is your TTPS. We are here for you, but we want you to be here for us as well, as we reduce crime and the fear of crime together.
On that note, we say thank you, as always, Inspector Michelle Lewis, for joining us, giving us the updates on the Carnival wrap-up, if you will. And we look forward to continuing to support and assist the TTPS in making Trinidad and Tobago a safer place. Guys, after these messages, we have even more that you could use. But for now, the Now Morning Show will take a break.